Today you'll be able to write an equation in slope-intercept form from a word problem. The work for today is in IXL, grade 10, L10. Today we're going to look at word problems. And one way of thinking of word problems is that the answer equals the changing part plus the not changing part. So in the questions you're going to see, there's going to be a changing part and a not changing part. And when you add them together, that gives you the answer. Another way to think of it is that the answer will be equal to the variable part plus the fixed part. So the variable means changing and fixed means not changing. A different way to think of it is more like an equation form where y equals the slope plus the y-intercept. So you can see the pattern here. The changing part and variable and slope are all the same, and the not changing part and the fixed part and the y-intercept are all the same. But if we were to show this just in letters, just using mathematical terminology, we'd say y equals mx plus b. So all of these terms in the red box, changing part, variable, slope, and m, they all mean the same thing. And all the parts in the blue box, the not changing part, fixed, y-intercept, and b, all mean the same thing. Let's take a look at some questions. Okay, when we read this question, it tells us Emilio has already jarred 2 liters of jam and will jar an additional 1 liter of jam every day. So jarring means putting jam in a jar or putting jam in a can, and jam is just fruit mixed with sugar, and normally you would spread it on your toast. So Emilio has jarred 2 liters of jam and will jar an additional 1 liter of jam. So in this question, what part is the fixed part? What part won't change? This is 2 liters of jam. That part won't change. So you put that at the end of the equation, the 2. What about the part that does change? The part that does change is 1 liter of jam, because if Emilio was making jam for 1 day, he'd make an extra liter of jam. And if he did it for 2 days, he'd make an extra 2 liters of jam, and so on. So what we want to do is to put these numbers into our equation, where we would write y equals 1x plus 2. Okay, let's take a look at another question. This question says, when ringing up a customer, a cashier needs 6 seconds to process payment, as well as 1 second to scan each item being purchased. So ringing up a customer means when a customer goes through the cash register, the cashier checks them out or scans in how much it would cost to buy the items they're buying. And the cashier is someone who takes your cash at a store. And processing payment is when you would give them money or a MasterCard or a debit card to pay for your transaction. So we'll read that sentence again. It says, when ringing up a customer, a cashier needs 6 seconds to process a payment, as well as 1 second to scan each item being purchased. So what part of this question is not changing? What part of this question is fixed? The 6 seconds is fixed because it takes the cashier 6 seconds no matter what. So we would write our fixed part of the equation at the end. So if our equation is y equals mx plus b, the fixed part goes at the end. So you put your 6 at the end. What part of the equation changes? What part is variable? What part is the slope? It says 1 second 1 second to scan each item. So we would put the number 1 here where m is, because that's the variable part. So if we were to write the equation in full, we would write y equals 1x plus 6. So in algebraic form, that tells us the cashier is going to take 6 seconds to do the transaction, plus 1 second for every extra item that gets scanned. Okay, let's take a look at another example. This question says, Scarlett has already written 4 pages and she expects to write 2 pages for every additional hour spent writing. So we know we're going to put this into the y equals mx plus b form, or slope-intercept form. So which part of this equation does not change? It says Scarlett's written 4 pages. So that's the part that's not going to change. So we put this here. That's the fixed part, or the part that won't change, or the y-intercept. What part of the equation will change? This part changes. It says she's going to write 2 pages for every hour spent writing. So we take the part that will change and we put it here, because that's what m means. It's the part that changes, or the variable part, or the slope. Then what we do from there is we finish our equation. We write y equals 2x plus 4. Okay, another example. This question says, Greg learns 4 new appetizer recipes during each week of culinary school. Write an equation that shows the relationship between the number of weeks and the number of appetizer recipes. Okay, appetizer is the food you eat before the main course. Culinary school is a school that you go to learn how to cook. All right, so what we want to find out first is what part of this equation is fixed. Well, none of it. There's nothing that's fixed. So we could write in equation form y equals mx plus b. Nothing is fixed. So you could write, if you want, plus 0. What part of this equation is the variable part? We can say that Greg learns 4 new appetizers is the variable part, because he learns 4 new appetizers each week. So for the variable part, we would write 4 where the m goes, and then you can just finish your equation with y equals 4x plus 0. Since it says plus 0 at the end, you don't have to write that because it doesn't add anything to the equation. You can just simplify this to y equals 4x. Okay, so your work for today is in IXL, grade 10, L10.